You've seen them, right? Those scary health headlines that pop up on your feed and make you question everything. Is your daily coffee actually killing you? Is your phone microwaving your brain? It's a total jungle of information out there. Okay, so today we're going to cut through all that noise. We're going to build a solid framework for getting straight to the facts.
So, let's set the stage. It all kicked off with this. Back in September 2022, the Trump administration drops this bombshell teaser hinting at a massive breakthrough, an answer to autism. Naturally, everyone was on the edge of their seat. And the subject of the supposed breakthrough, a super common, over-the-counter painkiller.
And boom, this is where things get messy. The headlines that followed basically screamed that Tylenol or paracetamol causes autism. But here's the thing, the actual science was way more nuanced. Researchers had found an association, a link, not a cause. And believe me, those two words are worlds apart.
But that tiny, crucial detail got completely lost. And the impact? It was immediate, and it was real. The stock price for Kenvue, the company that makes Tylenol, dropped by a staggering 10%. It just goes to show you how a misunderstood scientific claim can ripple out, creating real fear and financial chaos from just one single headline.
So how do we stop ourselves from falling for this stuff? Well, it all starts with understanding one single, incredibly important concept. Let's really dig into this idea of correlation versus causation.
Okay, so correlation is just when two things happen around the same time. The classic example is that ice cream sales and shark attacks both go up in the summer. They are correlated, for sure, but eating ice cream doesn't cause a shark attack, right? Causation, on the other hand, that means one thing directly makes another thing happen. And proving that is the holy grail of science, and it is incredibly hard to do.
Now, check this out. This is the actual data behind that scary headline. The finding came from what's called a meta-study, which is like a study of other studies. And as you can see, the results were, well, they were all over the place. Sure, 27 studies found some kind of link, but 9 found no link at all. And get this, 4 of them actually saw a reduction in risk. That is hardly the clear-cut Tylenol causes autism picture the headlines were painting, is it?
And the scientists themselves were practically shouting this from the rooftops. The lead researcher, Didier Prada, said it plain as day. We show it's associated with a higher risk, but not that it is the cause. He even said the risk might not be from the Tylenol at all, but from whatever fever or infection the mom was taking it for in the first place.
And this is why context is everything. Because another, even bigger meta-study looked at 56 different papers on the topic and came to a totally different conclusion. They said the evidence just wasn't strong enough. A lot of the studies hadn't even factored in other huge things like family history of autism. You see, science isn't just one declaration, it's an ongoing conversation.
Okay, so if that's how science can get twisted, what does good, rigorous science actually look like? How do researchers go from just seeing a link to really understanding what's going on? Let's go behind the scenes of a different study to see the incredible detective work involved.
We're going to look at a cohort study from Spain. They were trying to answer a really tough question. Does the air pollution a mother is exposed to during pregnancy affect her baby's birth weight? So they tracked 570 pregnant women to find out. And this, right here, is the anatomy of a really solid study. They didn't just ask a question. They built a whole system. They got their participants, they used sophisticated mapping tech to estimate the pollution right at each woman's home. They collected a mountain of data. And then, and this is the absolute key, they try to control for all the other things that might be affecting the outcome.
And just look at what controlling for things actually means. To isolate just the effect of air pollution, they had to account for dozens of other factors. I'm talking about everything from the baby's sex and when they were conceived to the parent's height and weight, even whether they smoked. This is the painstaking, meticulous work that separates real science from just a casual observation.
And here's why all that detail matters so much. At first glance, the study found no big link between pollution and birth weight. A simple headline would have just stopped right there, right? Study finds no link. But because they'd gathered all that rich data, they could dig deeper. And they found a significant link, but only for a specific group: women who spent less time away from their homes. Why? Probably because the pollution estimate for their home address was a much more accurate picture of their total exposure.
So, you see, the big takeaway is that science isn't always about one giant, simple answer. It's often about finding these subtle, nuanced patterns. This intense level of detail is what gives researchers real confidence that they're seeing something real, not just random noise.
But what happens when you take this kind of rigor and you apply it over a really long time?
When you take that same scientific discipline, but you apply it not just to about 500 people over 9 months, but to over 120,000 people for decades, well, the insights you can get are just profound. We can actually start to see how tiny, everyday choices add up to have a huge impact on our health. So this landmark study followed this massive group of health professionals, and every 4 years they tracked their weight and all the little changes in their diet and lifestyle. The goal was pretty simple: figure out which small habits were linked to long-term weight gain. And what they found? Well, it's pretty incredible.
All right, let's just run through the numbers. First up, potato chips. Adding just 1 extra serving of potato chips a day was associated with gaining almost 1.7 pounds over a 4-year period.
Now, on the flip side, what about yogurt? Adding a daily serving was associated with losing almost a pound over that same time frame.
And sugary drinks? Yeah, no big surprise here. Adding one of those a day was linked to a full pound of extra weight gain every 4 years.
Now this one might surprise you. Nuts, which a lot of us think of as being high-calorie, were actually associated with over half a pound of weight loss when people added a serving to their daily diet.
What this all really shows is the power of the cumulative effect. I mean, none of these changes are dramatic on a day-to-day basis, but this huge, long-term data proves that these small, consistent choices about specific foods have a real, measurable impact on our weight over time. It's not about one bad meal, it's the pattern that matters.
Okay, so we've seen how headlines can totally mislead us, we've looked under the hood at how rigorous science actually works, and we've seen the power of long-term data. Now, let's put it all together. What is the practical, simple toolkit you can use the next time one of those scary health headlines pops up?
Here it is. 4 simple questions to ask yourself. Number 1, are they talking about correlation or causation? Look for those weasel words like link, association, or maybe related to. 2, how do they study it? Was it a massive long-term study on people like that diet one, or something much smaller? 3, what's the context? Is this one bizarre finding, or does it fit in with other research, like that second, bigger Tylenol study did? And finally, number 4, what are other experts saying? Don't just trust the headline. See what the wider scientific community thinks about it. Look, this toolkit doesn't mean you have to be a scientist to read the news. It just means being a curious skeptic. It gives you the power to move past the fear and get closer to the facts. So with this new lens, think about it. What's one headline you're going to look at completely differently from now on?